Hello everyone, I'm Xiaogan. In actual development situations, the formulation of this communication protocol is usually done by the architect or by the development team leader of the backend engineers. They usually give you a brief, right? Usually, it's not like we directly write out this struct because we are handling the integration ourselves. Because this protocol is generally at the architect level, they design the entire framework and protocol, okay? Then let's come here to this HTTP section, find our process request. So this is our framework. The framework is fine. No need to change it. We just need to be here. Here we should write a registration method like this. Very similar to a registration method. It should be written next to the login method. We have already written, right? Then let's call it. Okay, good. Just make sure to match it accordingly. Then the server's interface will go into this. So how should this registration actually be written? It's actually not too different from our login. It just needs to check more information. Let's just follow how we wrote the login. First, let's prepare a response. The response is the structure of the top-level data we return. Good. We can just return it at the end. Now, let's do a simple initialization of this thing in sResponse. First of all, we definitely need to write this response as requested. Because only when we enter here do we know it is requested. Then we set its response type equal to requested response. This is something we only know after it is dispatched from the upper layer. How is it dispatched? You can tell by looking at where it is called. It is through, let's take a look. Here, there will be a request type here. This is the request. There is this type in here. Then we know what it is requesting, right? This should be relatively clear. After the distribution is complete, we start parsing our data. We know that the data we transmitted should be here. This data is transmitted in this format. Let's come back. Then this data should be our Wajitar data. Once this data structure is ready, we start performing a simple serialization on it. Then we need to come over. If this serialization fails, it means we failed to parse the requested data here. Then we set this result to failed and return it. Then if we need to parse further, that is whether its structure is valid. Note that the positions of these few stations should not be fixed. So this data structure, if it does not meet this compliance judgment, that is our data structure. Haven't we all defined compliance? If it does not meet this compliance judgment, we will take each non-compliant item and judge it past the judgment. Oh, so we are jumping a bit here. So the validation here is actually also very important on the client side, but your server still needs to validate because you cannot rely on the client to validate. Because your client may not actually be sending from your client. It could be forged by someone else. So no matter what, you must ensure that before this data enters the database, you must verify it again. Only then will it work. After this data verification is complete, we will need to make many judgments. So first, this judgment. We need to check whether this username is duplicated. Let's check. This explanation is a bit slow. Check if the username is duplicated. We'll set it as Bobby verified, which means we check. First, it gives it a passable one. How to detect this place? Then surely we'll use our for loop. For the for loop, we just iterate through this. Of course, we can also use other methods, like using find. That's fine too. Let's take a shortcut here and write a for loop. The for loop is easier for everyone to understand, but it might be a bit. This writing style is a bit simple. Let's compile this number. Then we look, and for each number we access it, whether his username is the same. If Orelam. Here, in the data we requested, there should be a URLM OK. If it is successful here, if there are duplicates, it proves that our verified has duplicates. If there are duplicates. We set this verified equal to false, which means some transactions did not pass. If they did not pass, we actually need to provide some reasons. For these reasons, we give them in this response. Its response type equals this. We will have a repeat one here. Repeatable, meaning this part did not pass. Looking at this part, it seems it should be response type. So then, after this is done, if it fails here as well, we will just return it directly from here. Like when the username is yes. If the username is not duplicated, it means the username verification passed. This might be a bit convoluted here. Actually, if a duplicate already appears here, we don't need to let it loop. Just break out of it. If the username verification passes, we will actually start the registration. Right, registration is actually very simple. We add one to info. We add a default one to this OR list. Add default. Actually, when we add it, we should also extract a method here. But since we didn't extract it, let's just leave it. Okay, right here. We give a new user info. Then inside new user info, note that we need to mention a reference here. Otherwise, it will make a copy, which is not what we want. We take the user's lam, set user lam equal to, let me check. It should be inside requel data equal to this urlam. Then we call it here. This item is not just urlam. There is also this password, right? Password. And then there are some for here. Your phone number. There is also an email here. We also call this email over. Note here, we don't have a UB, so we need to get this UB sorted out. Then for our UB, let's see what our UB is written as. Our UB is given as int. That's not great. It's not easy for us to make this UB non-repeating. Let's just write something random for this UID. It doesn't matter. We'll just let its number count. Then the number count minus 1. That's right for us. Making a judgment based on this index should be fine. Then at this point, we also need a time. F time. This time. Then this time we get from the server's time. Then we give it a cap. This is where we get the server time. Actually, at this point, we have already finished. After this part of the verification passes and after the addition is successful, next we need to return this data to the front. So here, we need to see what kind of 2D data to return. Using ylam, ulit, and register time is sufficient. So how do we do it? First, we provide the data returned by this register. Right. As for this data, we need to assign values to the fields inside it. Its yield might equal this. It equals the ID we previously assigned to it. Let's check if this yield uses strings. We'll use f strings here. Let's convert it. After the convention is done, actually here we also have a UALAM. We set it equal to its UALAM here. Then for this time, we also directly set it equal to the time we previously obtained. We also set it directly equal to the time we obtained earlier. This time is fine. Okay, this needs to be sent to the server. We need to return this data. As for this data, we will prepare a string to receive it. Let's call it RASP data. Then, On this side, we use the f-huge converter. And we have a ustruct. G-call that string. Then we pass in our ustruct that is tagged. Then we pass the string in here. Okay, after passing it over, we already have this data. Okay, we just need to go into the response here. We set this result to true, and this time we succeed. Then, here we set its data equal to our save. Okay, because this way, it succeeds. So here, our result type also needs to equal this. Success with type. Here it succeeds. Okay, these two return success. When it fails earlier, they will all here return the reason for failure back. Actually, here, if the username is duplicated, we can actually just do it here. Just let it return directly. Yes, if the username is duplicated, all our data here is actually invalid. We can just return here, so we don't need to repeatedly make a judgment like this earlier. That's not needed either. We just return here if there is a duplicate, and only continue if there is no duplicate. This structure might look a bit clearer. Okay, we return this. Response. Okay, once this is done, the response is constructed. This response will be passed upward, and then finally through the upper level interface of our server. The first level data of this response will be serialized into binary data and then passed on. First serialize it into a string and then serialize the string into binary data. Transmit it to our client via network. That's all for this part.